Hello and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. In today's video we're going to be having a look at 2.3, what I've labelled as 2.3 here, which is regarding part 2 of the novel, and it's specifically focusing on Pi's reflections about life as he is a castaway on the Pacific and a few of what he thinks about when he reflects on this time in his life. This is an important thing to consider because you could be asked a contextual question on this about what Pi learns from his experience or what he learns about life. And what you could also get asked is you could be asked a whole essay question about Pi's transformation, about what he learns about his experience, things like that. So understanding certain reflections, and quite a few of them are philosophical. I always feel like this novel, as you're reading, it's a combination of a novel and a sort of philosophical discussion at the same time, because there's lots of interesting and complex ideas that Pi reflects on. Why can we throw a question further? We can put in an answer. Why such a vast net if there's so little fish to catch? So he asks this, and this just emphasizes how sort of lost he feels in that moment, how there's so many questions, and sometimes how in life we have so many questions but we don't have answers. Isn't it ironic, Richard Parker, we're in hell yet we're still afraid of immortality? So here he talks about how you would expect that when you're in such a terrible situation you would really want to die. But in this case, he remarks to Richard Parker how yet, even though despite they're in this terrible situation, how they still have this desire to live. When your own life is threatened, your sense of empathy is blunted by a terrible selfish hunger for survival. So this is when he talks about seeing the zebra, and he is traumatized by seeing the zebra being eaten from the inside out. But he recognizes that he would be feeling much worse about this if he himself was not, threatened at the moment and struggling to survive. So he has to see it sort of in perspective. I had no idea a living being could sustain so much injury and go on living. In the face of such a superior predator, all of us were prey, and normal ways of preying were effective. It seemed that the presence of the tiger had saved me from the hyena, surely a textbook example of jumping from the frying pan into the fire. So remember, he's incredibly afraid of the hyena at first, but then when he realizes there's a tiger on board, and suddenly his entire perspective changes, as do all the other animals, and they realize, even the hyena himself realizes that he's not the alpha here, that there's actually a tiger which is going to threaten them all. So once again, that message of perception and perspective. Never give up. We fight and fight and fight. We fight no matter the cost of battle, the losses we take, the improbability of success. We fight to the very end. It's not a question of courage. It's something constitutional, an inability to let go. It may be nothing more than life-hungry stupidity. I must say a word about fear. It is life's only true opponent. Only fear can defeat life. It is a clever, treacherous adversary. How well I know. I think this is such a powerful statement, and he has a couple of quotes about fear, and this is what makes Pi really human, and really we can empathize with him because he's this human going through this very human experience, and he's not someone who's completely confident, right? He's a 16-year-old boy in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and he feels fear, and he explains that fear, but he also goes above that fear, and he's able to rise above it and to actually act and to survive, which is really incredibly admirable, which I don't think most people can do, right? I don't think that every single person has that ability to rise above fear. But here Pi is recognizing fear and how dangerous fear can be to your survival. One moment you are feeling calm, self-possessed, happy. Then fear, disguised in the garb of mild-mannered doubt, slips into your mind like a spy. Doubt meets disbelief, and disbelief tries to push it out. Quickly you make rash decisions. You dismiss your last allies, hope and trust. There you've defeated yourself. Fear, which is but an impression, has triumphed over you. Nestles in your memory like gangrene. It seeks to rot everything. You must fight hard to shine the light of words upon it, because if you don't, if your fear becomes wordless darkness that you avoid, perhaps you may manage to forget, you open yourself to further attacks of fear, because you never truly fought the opponent who defeated you. So here is when he talks about how it's important to actually put your fears into words, because then it's something finite that you can conquer. But if you let fear become wordless in the sort of pit of darkness, then you haven't defined it, and therefore you cannot overcome it. Be daunted, but not defeated. If you have the will to live, you will. The pain was so severe, I felt nothing. That's an example of a paradox. Time became distance for me in the way that it is for all mortals. To be a castaway is to be a point perpetually at the center of a circle. To be a castaway is to be caught in a harrowing ballet of circles. You're at the center of one circle while above you 2 opposing circles spin about. So this is like, just imagine, put yourself in Pi's shoes. He's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's just water from end to end. And it's almost like the circle, because this is never-ending cycle. And he can't see anything beyond it, in terms of literally, but also figuratively. When it is light, the openness of the sea is blinding and frightening. When it is dark, the darkness is claustrophobic. When it is day, you are hot and wish to be cool and dream of ice cream and pour seawater on yourself. When it is night, you are cold and wish to be warm and dream of hot curries and wrap yourself in blankets. When it is hot, you are parched and wish to be wet. When it rains, you are nearly drowned and wish to be dry. When there is food, there is too much of it and you must feast. When there is none, there is truly none and you starve. When the sea is flat and motionless, you wish it would stir. When it rises up and the circle that imprisons you is broken by hills of water, you suffer that peculiarity of the high seas, suffocation in open spaces, and you wish the sea would be flat again. The opposites often take place at the same moment, so when the sun is scorching you till you are stricken down, you are also aware that it is drying the strips of fish and meat that are hanging from your lines, and that it is blessing your solar stills. Conversely, when a rain squall is replenishing your fresh water supplies, you also know that the humidity will affect your cured provisions, and that some will probably go bad, turning pasty and green. When rough weather abates, it becomes clear that you have survived in the sky's attack and the sea's treachery. Your jubilation is tempered by the rage that so much fresh water should fall directly into the sea, and by the worry that is the last rain you will ever see, that you will die of thirst before the next one drops. The next drops fall. This is such a powerful paragraph, where he just talks about all these opposites and all these contradictions, and how when you're in one place you wish for something else, but when you're in that place you wish for the opposite. And as much as it's talking about sort of being in the ocean, it's also an incredible life lesson. The worst pair of opposites is boredom and terror. Obviously, Pi experienced both of these a lot when he is a castaway in the Pacific. Only death consistently excites your emotions, whether contemplating it when life is safe and stale, or fleeing it when life is threatened and precious. Life on a lifeboat isn't much of a life. It's like an endgame in chess, a game with few pieces. The elements couldn't be more simple, nor the stakes higher. Physically, it is extraordinarily arduous, and morally it is killing. You must make adjustments if you want to survive. Much becomes expendable. You get your happiness where you can. You reach a point where you're at the bottom of hell, yet you have your arms crossed and a smile on your face, and you feel you're the luckiest person on earth. Why? Because at your feet you have a tiny dead fish. I think I spoke about this line in one of the earlier videos, and how he talks about how one of the ways to survive is to constantly feel like you are evading death, because it excites your emotions. Otherwise, it's just sort of this monotonous, sort of boring and arduous journey. So having those moments of like escaping death becomes actually important for your survival, which is an interesting, I think a lot of these they seem paradoxical in nature, but really interesting reflections about life that he gets from his journey that we can also think about in our own lives. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.